The high achieving women that I work with fall in two groups: low desire and checked out, because intimacy has become a performance, a task, source of resentment, or high desire and confused, because sex is one of the only ways that they feel connected, but their emotional needs aren't being met otherwise. And then they're blamed for wanting it too much. And regardless, whether the high achiever is a low desire or a high desire partner, they are trapped in dynamics that are invisible unless you know what to look for. And I probably missed this in the first 5 years of my career myself. So let me start with a little example. I just had a call with a client. She is a partner at an investment firm, mother of two. She describes her sex life as vacation only sex, not because she doesn't really like it, but she just never wants it. It never crosses her mind. She's exhausted, feels overtouched by the kids. The idea of one more person needing her is suffocating. When I asked her what she desires, it's to let it all go, to be alone, to not be needed, to rest. But yet she's blaming and shaming herself for not wanting sex. So what she can't see yet, because she's blaming herself, she thinks there's something wrong with her. Maybe she's asexual. But what she doesn't realize is her nervous system, her body, her pussy, everything is so, so smart. It is protecting her from a relationship where she's always had to be the strong one. In fact, she even admitted that if she's undone or emotional, if she isn't on, that she doesn't feel lovable. And there are also some elements there where her husband is a little bit emotionally volatile, drinks too much, and although she wasn't able to name it initially, after our conversation, that definitely made her feel unsafe and shut down erotically. Now, on the surface, she is coming to me because this is like low libido. It's a desire problem. She wants to want it because her husband wants her to want it, but she doesn't care if she ever wants it again. Okay, so on the surface, this is low libido, but that's a pleasure basic. And what she is really dealing with is a protective withdrawal in the face of a relationship where she doesn't feel met, she doesn't feel seen, and she doesn't feel safe. And admittedly, part of this is her because of her super traits and how she's been conditioned to be a superwoman and always be on and always be perfect and not feel like she really can let it all go, be herself, have a bad day, come undone. Welcome to the Pleasure Principles podcast. I'm Dr. Jordan Wiggins. This is a podcast for high-achieving women with everything except intimacy that feels nourishing, erotic, and real. If you've been blaming your hormones, the stress from the amount of things that you get done in a day, or your relationship for a sex life that feels flat, you are not alone. This podcast is for the women who've done everything right. They've checked all the boxes: career, family, the self-work, because what you've been told is a mismatched libido problem, a hormone problem, a communication problem, is often a hidden power dynamic problem. And we're going to talk about that today. I'm a naturopathic doctor, author of The Pink Canary, and creator of The Pleasure Path, a trauma-informed framework for healing desire, rebuilding safety, and reclaiming your erotic power. Each week, we're going to decode the real reason sex feels like pressure, not pleasure. Your high-functioning super traits being used against you, the emotional labor that no one sees, maybe not even yourself because it's expected, and the invisible control dynamics that live even inside good heterosexual marriages. This is where high-functioning women finally get the answers they've been missing, and where pleasure becomes the strategy for healing. I need to tell you this. I've said it and I'm going to say it 100 more times. The traits that make you successful in career are the exact same traits that make you not great at intimacy. A part of this is our work, it's our side of the street. It is acknowledging that we have these traits. And when we have super traits, our energy is constantly focused outward. We are taking the temperature of the room. We are making sure everyone's needs are met. We're thinking 10 steps ahead. I'm just thinking of all the little extras that I did for my daughter, who is 4, but including I unload the dishwasher and I stack her dishes in colored order of her favorites, like most favorite to least favorite, because I know that makes her happy. But that is energy out. That is energy focused on her. And it is energy that is not focused on me and my desires and what my body wants and needs right now. So if you think about this, if we are doing this for our partners, if we are doing this for our kids, and we are doing this in our jobs for our staff, coworkers, everyone around us, maybe our aging parents, we are putting way more energy out than we are receiving back. And that is our work to do and our work to shift. And now let's not go all or nothing, extreme thinking brain. I'm not saying never do anything nice for anyone, because it does feel good to do things for our loved ones that we know that they will appreciate. It feels good to give. But when we give up ourselves, when we give at the expense of our health, our well-being, so our pleasure centers turn off, so our front, like we're not in our frontal lobe. We can't even connect with our desires and what would make us happy, because that part of our brain is offline and we're in fight or flight. We're in do, fix, maybe functional freeze mode. That's when it takes our toll. It's actually killing us in slow motion. Okay. We know that single childless women are happier, healthier, and they live longer. Now, this is fact, and you can be pissed about it. The truth is going to piss you off, but it's also going to set you free. So, by acknowledging this and looking at that, like we're looking at facts, okay? Facts we can't deny. We're pulling our heads out of our superwoman asses and looking at the facts. Men live longer when they're married versus single, and it is the opposite for women. So, this doesn't mean, again, we're not all or nothing thinking brain. This doesn't mean run, go get a divorce, move to a beach and forget about your kids. Although I'm sure that in the quiet of your overthinking mind, that might sound really good to you right now. Like I shared the example of my client that her pleasurable day did not even include sex. It just included being alone, letting everything go, not having to answer to anyone. So we need to acknowledge when we have super traits. And if you want to know if you have super traits, head to the show notes, take the pleasure path assessment live with me. This is why I created it, so that you can name these things and finally have answers that make sense for you. Because it's not codependency, it's not perimenopause, it's not that you're not eating enough protein, which if we help work on all of those things, it's going to make a difference. But the biggest, the fundamental underlying issues we're going to talk about in this episode, okay? And this is going to permeate our health, our relationships, our sex, our fulfillment. Okay, so we have our work, our side of the street, our super traits. And we have, when we have super traits, it makes us attracted to partners who don't or won't meet us emotionally. Okay, it's a good pairing. So I'm going to give you another example of a client that is doing the Pleasure Principles group coaching starting this month. She is the primary breadwinner. They have 2 children. She works with her husband. And you might say to yourself, is she talking about me? Because I have so many couples, they work together, have 2 kids. This couple, they parent well, they have a great job sharing household tasks. Like, by all intents and purposes, they have a good marriage. They've done therapy, it's helped deal with some of the resentments. They're not stuck in the same fight loops. But she says, I could go without sex forever. I'm just not attracted to him in that way anymore. And if so, again, on the surface, it's low libido. If we go a layer deeper, she's tired of being the one that holds it all, that manages it all. And when he's bothering her for sex at the end of a really long day, she just doesn't have it in her. He says that she's too critical. For her, she's checked out. And again, same pattern showing up. Underneath it, she doesn't trust that if she softens, if she lets go, that he will be able to catch her and pick up the slack. It's this idea of if I don't do it, no one will. So on the surface, this is a mismatch in desire. And this, you can spend years in couples therapy about this, years in your own therapy. But if it is not addressing the mismatch in power and the mismatch in emotional equity, you're not going to get very far. When women have to over function just to keep the relationship stable, it shuts down desire. This particular client doesn't feel safe enough to let go in her relationship. And like I mentioned, part of this is her work, working on her super traits, working on her superwoman conditioning and her pleasure beliefs that she's only lovable if she's perfect, creating the safety in her nervous system for herself. Because then, if she does open and she is vulnerable, she's got herself, even if he doesn't catch her. But it gives the opening for him to move towards her. That is proper energetics. You open, he penetrates. It's how it works. And if we are the one wearing the pants, fixing, doing, penetrate, penetrate, penetrate all day long, our nervous systems can't get into relax, arousal, turn on at night. It's just not happening. Days, weeks, months, years pass, and intimacy is a thing of the past. So we've been taught that sexless marriages are communication issues, or too much stress, or a lack of date nights, not prioritizing each other. But what if the reason none of that works is because it never is touching the real issue? Want to give you an example of a high drive client of mine. And I understand this myself personally, where I was seeking connection to an emotionally unavailable partner through sex. So my client's sex was her way of trying to feel close, but she often felt empty, dismissed after, or she'd reach for him physically as the emotional connection wasn't there and he would reject her. And it is so hurtful, especially when society tells us that, like, if our husband doesn't want it, then it's our fault and our problem. So, as the high drive partner, the work becomes making sure everything's done or timing things so that you can be alone and hopefully he's in the mood or he's not too drunk. But we're caught, no matter whether we're the high drive or the low drive, we're caught doing the emotional labor to try and regulate the relationship. So if you want it more, you're too much. Your desire's too much. If you want it less, then you're cold, frigid, and you should want it more. And I want us to understand something. We're not too needy. We're not too frigid. We are undernourished. We're like a plant that has not been watered enough to be juicy. The women that I work with, there is a desire imbalance. There is mismatched libidos, not because they're broken or that anything's wrong with them, but because our body is smarter than us. Okay, we are stuck in our heads. We need to drop into our bodies. That is part of what I teach. Our body knows that intimacy without emotional safety is a threat. So we're either seeking that safety through sex, but not finding it, and we're drifting apart that way, or we're shut down to it. because we don't feel safe. We don't feel supported. I'm going to tell you three things that have more to do with your desire, your turn on, your connection in your relationship than any communication formula, than any date night, than any lingerie, any activity book. I know you've tried all the things, okay? So these three things have more to do with your desire and connection in relationship. The first, minimizing, denying, blaming. When a client of mine brings her needs to her partner, she is often met with some form of minimize, deny, blame. She's told she's overreacting, or this is just who I am. Why can't you accept it? Why can't you get over the affair that I just had? Or I didn't know you felt that way. I wouldn't have done this if you didn't do X, Y, Z. This is a common tactic used against our super traits. Okay. So, like I said, head to the show notes, take the assessment. Let's figure out if you have super traits. Because once you see this clearly, once you see these patterns, we can rewrite the script. We can rewire our nervous systems for pleasure and change the dynamics in our relationship. Okay. So we have the super traits, the loyalty, the forgiveness, the openness, the flexibility. So we go with our to our partners with something that bothers us, and we are minimized, denied, blamed. And it is so sneaky. And because we are wired to fix, to try harder, we leave those conversations. We start the conversation with something that hurt us, and we leave with how we're going to fix it or things that we have to do better. And our partner is stuck. They're not moving, they're not meeting us. And what does that do to our bodies, to our nervous systems, to our pelvic floors? It clamps it up. Or we're seeking connection more to try and bridge that distance, that lonely, like that ache that we feel by not being met. Number two, using emotional neglect. Okay. Stonewalling, withdrawing whenever we bring up our feelings or ask for help or support. Again, a very common tactic that I see used against my high achievers with super traits, where we want to move towards, we want to fix, we want to harmonize, we want to come to a resolution. Oftentimes, our partners are the opposite. They will withdraw, stonewall, not speak to us. And this is going to, again, put a wedge in our connection, create resentment, erotic shutdown. Erotic shutdown is another thing that we will talk about in the pleasure path assessment. What is your erotic shutdown style? And in learning yours, you can probably figure out what your partner's is. And again, knowledge is power. And at the very least, we can stop trying to fix dynamics that are stuck and are not going to change and focus on what we can change. And that often improves the relationship way more than all of the stuff you've been trying. Because if you were happy, if you had a pleasure-centered relationship that felt safe, that felt equal, mutually beneficial, you wouldn't be listening to me right now. And the crazy thing, because I ask this at the beginning of every one of my group calls, my private coaching clients, I ask, we're like working to define what a pleasure-centered relationship is. Sometimes my clients are so shut down that even that takes time and work. We have to revisit it once we've done some practices, some exercise to get her back in her body and turn on her frontal lobe so she can connect with her desires. We're defining pleasure-centered relationship, and then I'm asking her, who do you know that has this? Who is a real life example that has this? She doesn't know. Is there a fictional example in a book or on a TV show? And sometimes she can come up with a couple of those, but what she really has to realize is that there is no model for what she is trying to create. This is something that she has to desire. She has to become a match with in her nervous system and be able to regulate and be present to receive it. And that's the work. That's what I'm helping teach. And the third thing is the nice guy, gaslighting through being the nice guy. So I talk to my clients and they're saying, oh, he's great. He helps with the kids. He helps with the dishes. He takes me to my doctor's appointments. But she still doesn't want to have sex with him. That's always a red flag to me. Or he doesn't want to have sex with her. So when it's like, yeah, this is great, we're great, but there is this desire mismatch, it's a little bit of a red flag. It's an orange flag for me. So we want to investigate that. I'm going to do a whole episode just on this because it is very nuanced. But these three things: minimizing, denying, blaming, emotional neglect, emotional unavailability, and gaslighting, being the good guy behavior, but not showing up in the ways that she needs to feel safe and open erotically. These three things underlie most of the sexless marriages for the high achievers that I work with. So, to my high desire superwomen, you've learned to use sex as a way to feel close, as a way to regulate that disconnection where you're feeling temporary relief, but in the long run, it leaves you unsatisfied, unseen, seeking more. It's like junk food. You eat it, but it's not nutritious, it's not satiating. So you seek more and more and more. To my low desire superwomen, you've shut down, not because you're broken, but because your nervous system has said, I'm done. No more performing. You're craving closeness, you're craving that connection, but you feel so shut down, you don't even know where to start. You want it again. And some of you don't even want to want it. You only want to want it because your husband wants you to want it. I need you all to know this. You are not the problem. What you have been taught is you are a product of a system that teaches women to earn love through emotional labor, through over functioning. But no amount of performing, no amount of over functioning is going to fix a dynamic that is fundamentally unequal, where we are constantly giving, giving, giving more than we are receiving. It is masculine to be empty. It is feminine to be full. Okay, it's just like sex. Desire, feminine desire is fullness, is so much. And when that's weaponized against us, like for being too much, for being too controlling, for having such high standards, even just learning to flip that is going to give you so much peace. It's like, yeah, I am too much. And aren't you lucky? Because look at what I have built. Look at what we get to share together. So if you've tried everything, books, podcasts, therapy, hormone panels, and you're still seeking connection, I invite you to take the pleasure path assessment. This is not just a quiz, it is a tool that is going to help you understand the underlying issues creating the disconnection in your relationship. We go, we assess the 7 key areas that create mismatched libidos, resentment, lack of connection. We're going to determine your super traits, your erotic shutdown style, locate where you are on the pleasure path, and give you your next steps to take to rebuild that connection that you so deeply desire. Head to the show notes, take the pleasure path assessment. You get the pleasure of doing, like having a live call with me to help you know your next steps moving forward. And if you are ready to stop putting this off and ready to take action, there are 2 spots left in my 12-week Pleasure Principles group coaching program. We're going to rewrite your relational patterns, rebuild the trust in your body, reconnect with your desire on your terms. And we only need you. We need to know your super traits. We need to build that resiliency in your nervous system. Turn your pleasure centers back on so you know what you want. Learn how to ask for it. And that's going to be a heck of a lot easier because we've already built that resilience. I've worked with thousands of women, done this over the last almost 12 years. So if you have success in every area, but you struggle with intimacy, this group coaching program is for you. Head to the show notes and save your spot.